Hey, welcome to another episode of Zeldacraft. This is the second part of the special episodes. This one's called the Pickaxe, as you can clearly see why. Um, so I recorded this one immediately after I recorded the audio of the last one. So in actuality, you still have just watched Pinecraft, even though there's been a bunch of videos between now and then. Yeah, I recorded this one early. Now the reason why I recorded this one immediately afterwards, and I was going to plan on waiting until I actually had material for Monday, so that I knew exactly what was going on, and maybe I could make some relatively comments about that. God, I'm talking fast. Don't know why. Anywho, I wanted to continue our conversation about shows and, how shows screw up. My biggest gripe was with the show Voyager, which I claimed is not a Star Trek episode because it just doesn't feel right. Now, the biggest thing I had with Voyager was I couldn't believe it. Okay, I can believe in Captain Picard because he acts like a captain. And I can believe in Data because he acts like a robot, and I can believe in Riker because he acts like a nobleman. He has a lot of faith in his captain. He follows him, to the T. And it, like, the Next Generation crew was by far the best because you had a sense of loyalty, you had a sense of duty, you had a sense of mission. In the original series, you had that same chemistry, but you had a bigger chemistry in there, which I don't think is really in there a whole lot with Next Generation, and that's the chemistry of friendship. The reasons why Captain Kirk and Bones and Spock worked so well was you had this friendship in there. Not just duty or loyalty and all that, which Bones was kind of touch and go with, but you also had, this friendship thing, and you also had dynamics in there, like Spock's fight for who he is. Is he a human? Is he a Vulcan? Now, in his mind, he is absolutely Vulcan, but he still has to deal with the human side of himself. So it's that battle. In Voyager, there was almost nobody that I could actually believe in. Okay, Janeway, I think, was the worst cast captain of all of sci-fi creation, and be more than willing to post worst captains in your opinion. But I think Janeway was a really bad captain. I believe that. Oh God, what is his name? The her first officer. I think that was that he would have made a better captain, of course, since he was not part of the of that he's not Starfleet. I can understand why he isn't captain, but if they switched the roles and made him captain and made her number one, I think that would have worked a lot better. Because there are so many times where he was called on to take care of the crew, and that was the strange thing, is that it's been a little while since I watched the show, so but his crew he had to deal with. Janeway always had issues with his crew, right up into the end. Yet he can deal with Janeway's crew without an issue. So why the hell wasn't he made captain in the first place? See, if they had, the captain of the Voyager killed off at, in the first episode, and then he took over both crews, I think that would have made a better show. And then had Janeway, who was the number one or something like that, like just made her the second in command, and made him the captain. I wish I could remember his name. Now, Tuvok, which was the Vulcan of the Voyager. I think that card was severely overplayed. He really did not fit the Vulcan aspect. I really did not like him as a Vulcan. Um, you know, T'Pol was a better Vulcan, and she was still trying to fit in that new age Vulcan-ish thing. Um, where they have these concrete rules to abide by, and she did a lot better job than Tuvok did. So I couldn't believe it. Torres, the half Klingon. I think actually, you know what? She was probably the best played, because she did have that internal conflict, which came into play a couple times, where she had to fight her Klingon self, because Klingons are very aggressive. So she had to control her aggression, and it was like she was the opposite of Spock, which I think if they went with her more than they went with Tuvok, that would have been better. Oh god, what was the chef's name? Can't remember the chef's name. Really funny guy. I think he was the best. The doctor was awesome also. They were really good, but they were drowned out by all the other crap around them. I just think that, overall, if you take the show as a whole, there isn't enough good qualities of it to classify it as a Zelda show. Yes, it's not Zelda. I think we all can agree on that one. That it should not be classified as a Star Trek. Now, I will respect it as a Star Trek because, well, it is, but I do have to say that Gene Roddenberry was definitely rolling over in his grave when, Voyager was created, because it did not follow his vision at all. Now, I think the only show that did justice after Roddenberry passed away was the Enterprise, the Star Trek Enterprise with Captain Archer. That one, I believe, and after I watched the whole series, because I watched bits and pieces of it while it was new, and then I was finally able to get a hold of it and watch it in its entirety from beginning to end. Now, season 3 has a very Voyager-y feel to it. So that season is not my favorite because I don't like having flashbacks of Voyager. But what's awesome is that the first season feels like the first 2 seasons feel like a cross between the original series and Next Generation. You had this, you had this feeling of new adventure, and you also had this feeling of continual conflict. So it was like this dual action thing, and I think it fit really well in the series. The one thing I have to say is that technologically speaking, I don't think Enterprise fit in at all. The Enterprise of the NX Enterprise is clearly of a higher technical value than the Star Trek Enterprise 1701. No letter. Which I think they could have done better. Like, if they took the style of Battlestar Galactica and used that, it would have been better. It would have flowed better. And that's the other thing, is that Battlestar Galactica proved, 2007 I believe was when the new series came out. Battlestar Galactica, the new series, proved that you can still look like a 1960, sci-fi movie without cliche. Battlestar Galactica looked aged but fresh. That's the difference. Same thing goes with the newer Star Wars with Anakin in them. Those, when you see the technology, when you see holographs and you see the inner workings of the ships, they look like they did in the 1970 movies, proven that it can be done. So there's no reason why they had to make the Enterprise look so fresh and so new. it looks like the Enterprise is the prequel to the Next Generation, not the prequel to the original series. So, I have a gripe with that. I just think that the Star Trek series has fallen completely short. Now, on another note with that, and I know we're talking about Star Trek during a Zelda video, but I have more to say about Star Trek than I do of Zelda, so I'm just going to keep going, because I have to ramble on anyways, and maybe you enjoyed it. Maybe you've been trying to figure out which one to watch. I say watch them in order, chronological order. That way, if you don't watch the last two, it's perfectly fine. You don't miss anything. But you watch them in chronological order. You watch Enterprise, the original series, Next Generation, and then you choose between Voyager and Deep Space Nine, since they both take place in about the same time frame. Watch them, skip the last two. But my thing is like a lot of TV shows really don't do justice to what they are, what they were, or something like that. And that's what I have to give a lot of credit to Battlestar Galactica. Battlestar Galactica came in strong, kept going strong. Third season was a little iffy, but still pretty decent. And then it ended on its own note, and it ended perfectly and fluently, and it just was perfect. I was a little pissed off on a couple things, but I'm not going to talk about those. But I definitely, suggest you go watch the original Battlestar Galactica. I mean, not the original, but the second version, the 2007 or whatever it was, 2003 or whenever it was released, because it was really well done. And actually, when I got a hold of the entire series, I watched it from beginning to end straight. I watched it, and I was just like dumbfounded on how awesome it was, and I just kept watching it, and I didn't stop watching it. So there's a lot of shows that I really didn't like how they ended. Now the family shows, those all end pretty good. Maybe have a rough spot before they end, like Roseanne. I'll talk about Roseanne. I'm not ashamed of it. Roseanne was an awesome show, except for the last, I think, season or two. When things just got squirrely. Like she went in the lottery and all that other stuff. It just lost its feel. But I think they redeemed it with the ending. Where she talks about how the whole show was just her book. That back in, I think, the first couple seasons, they made a writing room for her to write a book in, because that's what she always wanted to do. And the entire show, Roseanne, was that book. And that it wasn't her mother that was a lesbian, it was her sister. And the daughters were actually dating the opposite of who they were dating in the show, and like all these little things. Dan actually died, and like it was all these little things where she wrote the book to talk about her life, but she did it the way she wanted to, and not the way it actually happened. And I think that was a very awesome, and well done, ending to a show. And then a lot of the family shows just have kind of a goodbye show. I remember watching the closing episode of Tool Time, which I think they should never have shown Wilson's face, because it really lost a lot when you saw his face. I remember the final episode of Friends. I remember the final episode of Seinfeld, and I remember watching a lot of final episodes, and it's the storyline shows that really suffer a lot when they get canceled. And so I'm going to end my show conversation and come up with a new rant for the last part, whatever that part was. And just letting you know that this video was originally 104 minutes. So that means we are somewhere in the vicinity of 2 hours and 15 minutes of total time of me digging, mining, and everything else. So this video is coming to a close. As you can see, I'm running out of stone to mine out. Leaving as much sandstone alone as possible, just so that I don't have to replace it later. And you know, you should be able to figure out what the next episode is going to be. That was me getting my wool because I saw a colored sheep. Colored sheep are always on the top of my priority list. Oh, I danced for the pig. Don't know why I did that, but I did. I was kind of getting, you know, it's starting to go through a crazy phase at this point, I think. 2 hours of straight mining is not always a fun thing to do. So that is it. And I thank you for putting up with my rants and raves and everything else. And let me know what your opinion is. You know, what do you think? What shows do you think were done right as a whole, and which ones weren't? Anyways, this is Soundmaster Matt. I'll see you next time.